This is Brindlewood Bay Last Resort Part 12. Possibly our last session, or at least in the main campaign. I don't know, we'll see. I do want to check in well, let's take a look at the mystery first. Fair amount of clues on a complexity 6. You have a map that was dropped by Etienne, clearly of importance to the cult. You have a conversation where Etienne is talking to Jane Leaf and says, I don't think a boat has gone to that island in ages, Jane. There is a photo in a museum, and 4 women in the photo, who are also pictured with the crew of the Debriever, look exactly like murder mavens. So that's intriguing. The mystery here, of course, is to figure out the midwives' plan to use April Willoughby to summon the Eye of Charon completely into the world, believing that the Eye of Charon will be drawn to April Willoughby because the Eye of Charon believes it's Hale Willoughby who escaped death back during the time of the Debriever. You need to figure out the when and the where of the ritual and the how in case you have to reverse it or stop it in some way. So that is sort of where things stand as far as that goes. Now we do have we're at a sort of mechanical crossroads that I didn't give you all a chance to follow up on intentionally for drama purposes. But in the last scene at the fish market, at the bottom of the stairs that lead up to Etienne's apartment above the fish market, I mentioned that you were all surrounded by undead creatures, and there was 2 things there that you could have done that I didn't let you do, but I'm going to give you the opportunity to do now. One is that B can use a crown to avoid to get a 7 to 9, right? That's one. If we roll forward with the undead creatures and B doesn't do that, then Ella May had said, this reminds me of something that happened to Amanda Delacourt. So we've got a couple of things here, right? So yeah, I will just sort of let you all kind of decide how you want to handle that, I think. And then the last thing we saw with Callie, my blanket keeps popping into that and it's annoying the hell out of me. Callie, you are getting ready to open up the sealed up hold of the Debriever when you realize there are bodies or something down there, zombies or something, and they said something about how could you, Willoughby. This we think is connected to a historical tidbit that Hale Willoughby went crazy allegedly and killed 13 people, but in fact he was just fulfilling an obligation to death. So that's sort of where things are there. And the Mavens are loaded up with conditions last I checked, so more or less. So yeah, what do we think for that first scene with these sort of risen dead surrounding? Do you want to use a crown, or do we want to roll forward and do the Gold Crown Mysteries move, which would give you a 12+ to presumably escape or whatever? So.
I think I wouldn't mind marking a crown, just spending the 1 so we can bump it to a 10+ and not have hordes of the undead.
But if we do reference Amanda Delacourt, there's the chance of a book title that involves rising like dead and rising like baking goods. And it seems like such a good book title.
I mean, I'd be convinced if you already had the book title.
Oh, I thought you'd enjoy creating it, given your love of baking.
Oh, well, yes, but Violet's not here, and that was her cozy move.
Got it.
So did you want to use a crown then, Sarah?
I will mark a flashback. And that's the last crown of the queen I have.
Oh, wow, okay. And that will bump it up to 7 to 9, which is the next highest tier, which means that I'm just going to make the danger probably. Well, what were we actually trying to accomplish on that roll? Baby was doing something. We were trying to convince Baby to do something. What was it?
Well, Baby had jumped up like the stairs and was next to the door that we were going into the apartment.
Mhm.
And I thought that Baby could distract them and kind of lure them
Oh,
with
that's right, because
fast
there was a
movement or-
zombie outside that door. That's right.
Yes.
Yeah. That will work. I think basically the danger is that Baby will get up on a high roof and we'll be too scared to come down. So that's the complication. But you'll otherwise be able to slip past these Walking Dead to get into the apartment of Etienne. So just give me that scene. What does it look like?
Baby gets close enough to the undead in front of the doorway, and it reaches out like it's going to grab her by the tail. And she does the bristle and jump, and now she's a roof above, and the zombie type undead creature goes spilling off the edge of the top of the staircase and has now fallen to the ground.
Fantastic. So are you just going to bust into the apartment?
I mean, I'm a little old lady that probably doesn't have a whole lot of shoulder in this. So
I
perhaps
know where
a
Etienne
credit card
keeps
or
the key.
That's true. We do have a former lover of Etienne's here. I
He
like
used to
that.
be
I like
catch
that
of
you know
the
how to
day.
get in. Yeah, that's good. Yeah. So where's the key at?
There's like a stuffed marlin hanging over the doorway,
Good.
and it's basically like lodged kind of in between the pectoral fins.
I like it. So you're inside Etienne's apartment. LMA, you're familiar with the apartment, and it is the sort of apartment, as you might imagine, is sort of bachelor of a certain age who works at a fish market might have. I think I want to ask a paint the scene question. How does the apartment reflect that Etienne and the other midwives are getting closer to accomplishing their goal?
maybe
think-
in addition, oh, go ahead.
Oh, please, here you go.
Maybe in addition to the map that Etienne dropped, there are actually many maps of Brindlewood Bay and tides and current charts and astrological charts to figure out, like they're pinpointing something.
That's similar to what I was thinking, like maybe building on that. There's a whole, basically a wall that's a murder board kind of thing now, and it's all the research, and you can tell just by how complete it looks now that whatever they were looking for, they know it.
And the red string is in the shape of an eye. I am picturing he's basically just stopped buying food. Like the every food item in the house is kind of green with mold, expired by 3 weeks. There's something big is going to happen, and you don't need groceries.
Yeah, sounds good. Okay, so you're in the apartment. LMA, what do you do?
Oh, we're searching for the where and the what in the house.
The where, the when, and the
When. Thank you. I was like, there's a question of something. Let's see if he's got an old school voice machine, on the chance that there is a voicemail that may or may not tie into Violet's secret benefactor as well.
Oh, interesting. Oh, very interesting. I like that. Actually, it's a good angle. You find the voice message, and we'll go ahead and make the meddling move with reason. See how that goes. See what you discover.
Remember how last time I started with a 12? This
Yeah.
time I started with snake eyes.
Oh no. You
Is this the play button? No, that's erase. Oops.
you are fast forwarding, listening to messages. And one of them, you do hear the unmistakable voice of Otho Fane. But before you can figure out what the message is, you hear from the doorway, LMA, I can't believe you would betray me like this. B and LMA, you will see that Etienne is there holding a gun in one hand and baby in the other. He says, I have overlooked your meddling for too long because I loved you. But I realize now that that love has made me blind. I cannot risk everything we've worked for, everything the Carfax sisters have worked for. Oh, a good point in the chat that Anku is with you. Anku is not with Callie. B, what do you do?
I did remember that I had wrangled both pets at the end of the last episode, so there might be just a moment of where I try to emulate Callie's whistle and have Anku charge up the stairs into the apartment. And at that point, perhaps Etienne is distracted enough that Baby would be able to wrestle free with as many claws as possible.
So this is strictly to try to free Baby then.
Well, you know, he's probably going to be wrestling with Anku. We could maybe get the gun away from him.
All
There's that too.
This is going to be the night move.
I have a most ridiculous thing that I don't think we should probably do, but we've really never brought up that I have a pet African gray parrot.
That has not come up much, no.
No, and it's a pity because it would be funny as hell for the African gray parrot to exactly emulate the whistle of like "sicken boy" kind of. But we haven't really built up the plot.
That feels like we haven't earned that one quite yet.
The murder maven menagerie.
What are you afraid is going to happen if you fail?
That one of us will be shot accidentally with the gun as Etienne is struggling.
You will both be, it's worse than that, you will both be shot intentionally by the gun. And then Etienne will adopt Baby. Now, let's go ahead and this is going to be vitality.
Okay.
Go ahead and roll that. Let's see how it goes.
Okay, that's a 9 plus nothing.
Okay. It is going to work. Anku is going to respond.
Fuss.
The complication is that Anku is going to kill Etienne. If you're okay with that, then that's that.
I think narratively that's a lot of fun.
Ben, I'll give you the pleasure of. I'll have a death scene with LMA and Etienne. Don't worry about that. But just give us the moment when Anku arrives on the scene.
I think it's as soon as B shouts "Fass," it's like a switch is flipped, and he just teeth bared lunges straight for Etienne, who I imagine can't get the gun aimed in time with Baby struggling, and Anku pushes him down to the ground. And what if instead of Anku, tearing out his throat or something, he hits his head on a side table going down?
LMA, you can see that Etienne is cracked up in his head really good. There's blood pouring out quite rapidly and staining the rug laid beneath the table. He's looking up at you with his streaks of blood across his face, Christ-like, and he says, Ellen May, why have you forsaken me?
I get a little teary and trying to do the nursing thing of like, compression and preventing bleed out.
Do you have some kind of like, do you
emotional.
have the Maven move that gives you have our Quincy?
I do have our Quincy. Yeah.
I'll let you save him if you want.
Before I answer that, do we know he's on the side of the midwives, but do we really know his role in the greater mystery yet, and the ritual and all that? Like as far as I feel like we've seen, he's sort of a Guy Friday henchman sort of thing.
That's probably fair. If for no other reason, like Jane and Mrs. Carfax are quite old, right? So they probably can't get around to do various henchman-like tasks themselves.
All right, I think I've got an answer here. So I'm going to teary-eyed, be like, Etienne, I've had my doubts about you. Like, maybe there's a romance, but it feels like sometimes you make bad choices, and but I'm rest, ice, compression. I think rice. That's the thing, and so I'll like package up his head and say, B, help me get him back down into the market. We're going to put him on the ice, and it'll.
The irony is so thick, I can't even handle it. It's really good.
Right. And then bump down the stairs and leave him on a bed of his own fish ice.
And as you slot him into the shelf between the cod and the haddock, much like Albert Krauss was in the very first episode of this campaign, he looks at you and he says, there aren't any other fish in the sea for me, Ellen May.
I got like a little, I don't know, I'm kind of touched. I'll give him a little peck.
Very good. Let's cut back.
Stay there, Etienne. We'll be back with help later.
I'll give you all a chance to investigate the apartment still, but we'll cut over to Callie for now. Dr. Thibault, one of these things Holt has whispered, Willoughby, how could you, to you. Miles says, I think we should get out of here, Callie. We can't, I don't know what's going on down there, but I don't, it feels like the kind of thing that would cause us to lose our funding.
If we don't get what's in there, we'll lose a lot more than funding. We'll lose the town.
Do you really think it must be connected to this storm?
It is. It absolutely is.
At that point, you hear, Dr. Thibault, I'm going to have to ask you to step away from there now. It is Sheriff Dalrymple. It says, I know we live in unusual times, but nevertheless, promises were made and secrets must be kept.
Oh, Sheriff. Not you.
Dr. Thibault, all I've ever wanted to do is protect this community. That's all I've ever done. I protected the Willoughbys.
That's what I'm trying to do.
I made sure that when people When those people from the commune took that boy, I made sure they paid the price. And always, 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 I keep my promises. The Deep Reaver has to stay closed up. There's no other way.
I'm afraid, Sheriff, that I respectfully disagree.
He pulls out his gun. Says, Dr. Chabot, do you really think with all this madness going on right now, anyone will know or even acknowledge that some nosy old professor got shot?
Oh, someone might. And I think I would like to lean on my condition of the black dog and my Gordon Shumway move and call the black dog.
Oh, very intriguing. uh, it's probably the occult move, if I'm being honest, but since it's the last session, I'm going to just make it the night move with sensitivity. What are you afraid is going to happen if you fail?
The dog will come for me.
Yeah, I think that's probably right. It's worse than that. The dog will come for you, and Sheriff Dalrymple will kill Miles before it's all said and done. I'm going to let you have this roll, but I am going to put you at disadvantage.
It's 3.
He says, or do you suppose anyone is going to notice when some curator of an old whaling museum ends up dead? And Miles says, huh? And Sheriff Dalrymple just plugs him. Bang! Miles slumps down against the wall. And then Sheriff Dalrymple turns the gun on you. And here how does the black dog enter the scene? I wonder.
In true horror movie fashion, I imagine it just kind of melts out of the shadows behind Callie, and we see the jaws just come in around the back of her neck, and then she's gone.
I like that.
But I think I'd like to put on a crown.
Very well. Good marker crown. Instead, I think he still shoots Miles, but the black dog will take him out. What does that look like?
Just like with Callie, but instead with the good sheriff, it just slinks in from behind and snatches him into the dark.
And you just hear like vicious growling and tearing of flesh and bone, and just Sheriff Dalrymple's legs kicking, because that's all that you can see out of the shadows. And then when it's all said and done, when the body is still, you just see the red eyes of the black dog. You can clear the condition.
Callie will just kind of shakily say, good dog.
So it's just you down in the hold, Miles and the sheriff, lying in pools of their own blood. Back at the apartment, B and LMA, after you're done dealing with Etienne, you're back up in his apartment. So now what?
I would like to investigate whatever remains of the plans that are in his apartment to see if we can find any clues as to where and when and how this ritual would be performed.
Yeah, go ahead and make the meddling move with reason.
Ah, well, that's 10 plus 1 is 11. So
Nice.
success.
I shall give you a clue in a moment. And did you want to continue that message,
Let's
LMA?
respool the tape.
Yeah.
Continue listening to it, you mean? Continue the message?
Yeah, the message, because you're just getting ready to listen to the message from Otho when.
Yeah, absolutely.
Otho says, I am, of course, very, very hesitant to help a member of a rival philosophical society, especially one that intends to destroy the world. But I can't help but admire what you and those old ladies have managed to accomplish. The storm over Brindlewood Bay. Very, very good. No matter what happens at the end, I suppose no one is going to forget this, if there's even anyone left to remember. I want to have my part played in history, and so I'll help you, Etienne. He says, look to the sky. Look to the sky and find a pale yellow star. And then the message ends. That's a clue. And B, you're looking around. You get a clue as well. An interesting clue for you. Much as Etienne has not been buying new food, he also only has 2 clean changes of clothes left in the closet. He tends to wear the same thing all the time. That's your clue.
LMA, do you think we can leave Etienne on ice? I feel like we should go back to the museum.
I think so, but that zombie Albert Krauss thing was walking around earlier, and I had, we need to barricade the door or something just in case Krauss goes back to his, well, it wasn't his final resting place now, was it? But his intermediate resting place, and finds Etienne there. That wouldn't be well for anybody. Grab your cat. Let's get going.
Perhaps we should ask the nice military gentleman to help us put up some boards if you're really concerned about it, but I think that we should go.
Oh, I was thinking more just pile a bunch of fish in front of the door so the zombies got to eat their way through it or something.
And so
Spread some salt and lemon juice. Does that keep them away?
Etienne is probably out of commission for a little bit. I wouldn't worry about Etienne.
Let's take the keys to his truck.
Did Private, what's his face? I've already forgotten his name. What was his name? Did we write it down?
Arnold.
That's right.
Arnold. Did Private Arnold, did he, remind me, did he drop you off at the fish market? Like, is he expecting to pick you up again, or did you sneak off?
He was waiting down by the military vehicle smoking a cigarette, as he seemed to do at every point we stopped.
Right, yeah. So we'll just say he's there again. And he's like, did you ladies, were you able to drop off the meals to your friend?
Yes. Yep. And we can go back to the museum and back to the route.
All right. Well,
Yeah, the meals like that, they will keep for a long time as long as you refrigerate them.
he's like, all right, well, fall in, ladies. And he throws the cigarette down and gets in the truck. And we hear the, assuming you get in the truck, we hear the of the hydraulics, and the truck is off, rumbling down the road. Meanwhile, Callie, you're in the hull of an old ship, sitting in 2 pools of blood, with some zombies beneath you. What are you doing right now? And a tactical shovel.
And a tactical shovel. Yep. I think she will take the sheriff's gun and then go back to trying to lever open the hatch.
You are going to be at it for a bit. I think you're going in like just basically in centimeters, essentially, right? As you gradually get just a little bit more, get pulled apart a little bit further each time. And eventually it'll snap and break, whatever's holding it tight. But I think not before the others arrive. Private Arnold says, why are we back here again, ladies?
Oh, there was one more of us, don't you?
Oh, that's right. All right. Yeah. We'll go get her. And you've got until I finish this cigarette. Then he goes and lights up a cigarette.
Yes, sir. We scurry into the museum.
You see carnage when you get to the boat. You go through the museum, you go to the back, you go down the pier. We'll just fast forward to blood everywhere. The sheriff is dead. You probably saw the sheriff's vehicle actually on the outside as well. And Callie trying to use this shovel to bust open the hatch. Let's just have that scene.
Oh, ladies.
Callie,
Watch where you step.
did you do this?
Did I robot out there?
I didn't hear a reply.
We didn't hear your reply if you said something.
Sorry, I missed what was said.
I think they missed what you said.
B said, did you do this?
Did you do this?
No, the sheriff shot Miles, and the dog, the black dog got the sheriff.
Anku goes running up to Callie.
I was picturing
good-
Aku being
good
like,
boy.
black dog? Her?
Callie will coo and comfort in German.
Why are you opening this?
Because the museum was under strict condition to not open it. That has to mean something's in there. It may be the key to everything, or it might just be a bunch of zombies. Really hard to say. Or both.
Well, here. And B kind of maneuvers around Sheriff Dalrymple's body mass and gets on the other side of the tactical shovel and starts to maybe use her weight to help.
Yeah. I think if all three of you leverage it, use your leverage, you'll be able to pop the hatch open.
I have one other question that might be just cute. I'm looking at my items and I don't remember where and why did I get the key to the city of Brindlewood Bay?
I don't know either. I
There's a
think you
part of
just
me
had it.
thinking
I think
the
you had it
girl
as
will
part
walk
of.
up and be like, would this help?
I think you might have had it like before, like we even started playing. I think it might have been one of your first.
Yeah, it's the
items.
third item on my list from
Yeah.
the cozy quarters or cozy little place. So
I don't remember why you got it though. Maybe you won some pottery competition or something.
okay.
I don't know. But in any case.
Oh, that sounds right. I think Fraser described that. Okay.
Yeah. The hatch is open. There's a ladder that goes down. The space is quite dark. And you can hear shuffling feet down there.
So
Now
zombies.
what?
Well, one of them spoke to me earlier. Or spoke, at least. And I think Callie will kind of peek over the edge and say, hello down there?
Willoughby.
You are searching for Hale Willoughby, yes? Hale Willoughby.
Willoughby.
It doesn't sound like they're looking for any particular, but any Willoughby will do.
Well, it occurs to me, maybe they can find one, and we can follow them.
Oh.
Do you want to try and leash one of them?
Well, that hadn't occurred to me, but Anku's perfectly fine off leash. We could use his.
The goal is to see if you can get one of these, if it is drawn to April Willoughby. Is that the idea?
Yeah.
I believe, yep, that we're trying to bloodhound a zombie.
This feels very dangerous, but I'm into it. So you don't know how many zombies are down there, for starters. That's problem one. And then there's the matter of like wrangling one of them to do this.
Or even just watching where they go.
Watching where they go as well. That's also, I was thinking that too. Like you just sort of see what they do. How are you going to get them out of there, though? They may not be able to climb the ladder.
It's time for an Angus MacGyver move.
Maybe, yeah. That's kind of good, actually. Whose move is that? Is that yours?
Yeah, it's mine.
Yeah. Each of us has to name one thing in the environment that might help with this ridiculous plan, and then LMA can incorporate them into and get an advantage on a roll by incorporating at least one of the items. I'm going to say that there is a lot of rope, some like mooring line.
I'm going to say that there is old wood displayed from previous ships, like sides of other ships built around it as displays with little brass plaques on them and dates.
Like ribbing, or like just it has like a flat
Imagine a
facade.
science museum in which you can have like, oh, I can look through the porthole, you know, that experience, like a side of a reclaimed sort of ship. It's very in right now.
Maybe this is helpful, maybe it isn't. I think there's, as part of an old exhibit, a whale jaw.
All right, LMA. You've only got to make one of them useful to get the bonus.
It's a lot more funny if you make them all three work together somehow.
I think so.
All right. Help me grab this whalebone, and I'm assuming they're fairly large. Trundle it over, deliberately dragging it through Miles's blood.
Okay, very good.
I'm gonna take some of this mooring line and do a nice bowline around the end of this sort of jaw-shaped bone bloody hook, and then run that around a brass cleat on the leftover decorative ship siding, right above. Sarah, what's the name of the ship?
That's the Deep Reaver.
Oh, I mean there were other ships, I thought was what Sarah was saying, like remnant flags.
The Titanic 2.
All right.
Why would you name your ship Titanic 2? What a cursed name to give your ship. You know what? That first Titanic.
Hubris knows no limits.
Knows no limits. Hubris the sequel.
Come on. All right. And then with that, lower this bloody bone thing down into the hatch. And I'll kind of get back with the plan to kind of do a heave ho, maybe get Anku to help me haul whenever hopefully this zombie thing takes a bite of the bait.
And then you're gonna drag it out. Yeah,
That's it. Yeah, drag it out. I'm trying to just drag one out, basically.
Yeah, you're only gonna get one out. This is fantastic. I love it. Take advantage. This is going to be with reason for the plan, but take it with advantage.
Ooh, sorry, a 10.
Very good. Okay, let's take a 5-minute break. We'll come back and see how this resolves. Okay, this is going to work. You are going to get one of these undead creatures to clasp onto the jaw, and you'll be able to haul it out. And then you just let it wander wherever it's going to wander, right? It will wander to a place that will be very, very important to solving the mystery, we'll say. That's out of character. But also out of character, you have the basic problem of needing to keep it safe from the military. And so as it goes where it's going, you all have to keep you have to basically keep it out of the path of the military, keep the military away from it, create a path for the creature to go where it's going to go. Yes, B.
Only we had Violet's disguise kit. We could put a wig on it and dowdy old dress.
I would love to take Sheriff Dalrymple's keys.
Okay, you can do that. Yeah, of course. You have his cruiser, which would be good for like getting around, right? So what are you going to do to keep it safe? Because as soon as the military sees it, they're going to like shoot it, or
What does it look like? Is it like a rotten sailor?
Yeah, let's talk about it. So it's quite decayed at this point. It's essentially just like a skeleton caked with old blood and grime. The clothes they don't indicate any particular profession, but they are definitely out of date. Like they're like turn of the century, like kind of like overalls and white shirt. It's probably a man. And it just keeps saying, well,
all right, so we go into the Deep Reaver Museum. We grab from the mannequins the historical garments that were worn by the people who looked just like us in those photos, and we turn it into like a historical reenactment pub crawl.
Problem is, you're not supposed to be roaming around the streets of all right now.
Okay, maybe
at the very least, the creature is going to get detained and then probably destroyed.
Could we strap enough of Sheriff Dalrymple's clothes to it to make him look a little bit more official? Oh, the sheriff is escorting us and he's allowed out and around, obviously.
Maybe. I don't know. It feels not great. Callie, do you have any thoughts?
If someone dressed up as in the sheriff's gear or all that, we could be escorted by the police to study the creature, because I'm associated with the university.
So we've been given permission as a Hail Mary by the military themselves or by the FBI or whoever we want to try and pull rank, that we three little old ladies might have the best chance of identifying how to defeat them.
I have a contact in the FBI. Could I put him on the phone with Sergeant Arnold's to
Oh, with Private Arnold.
Private Arnold's.
Yeah, maybe.
To rope him in, and then maybe I don't have to try and drive Sheriff Dalrymple's car because that was going to be a thing.
If it's on FBI orders.
I don't know if it was anyone but Private Arnold, I'd say that wouldn't work. But Private Arnold seems to A, not care about his job too much, and B, not really understand the chain of command. And so
We can give him a pack of Sheriff Dalrymple cigarettes.
it feels reasonably doable. So what is this phone call? How does this go?
Trying to see if I wrote down his screen name. I don't think I did.
Or yeah, how do you even contact them?
All right, phones aren't working. Military must have.
That works.
Yeah, they have a satellite phone.
Sheriff
Did you-
Dalrymple might also have some form of communication device.
Yeah, if we're getting some things off the sheriff's body, let's see if he has a
Yeah,
satellite
probably
phone.
in his cruiser, he probably has like a satellite phone, I imagine. So,
And I'd put a call into I can't remember his screen name. Let's go with Charlie.
okay.
And just Charlie, it's Callie. Can you hear me?
Dr. Thibault, let me guess, this is about the storm over Brindlewood Bay.
Oh, very much, yes.
So what's going on? The Bureau is everyone's really it's bad, Dr. Thibault. They're thinking that, I think they're getting ready to launch nukes at someone.
That is extreme, but not unreasonable. The dead are rising, and there's the dead are rising and walking, and well, we're hoping you can help us out to maybe put an end to all this without the nukes.
What do you know? What's going on? Like, tell me what's happening.
I promise I will catch you up entirely. The short form is there's a cult, they're going to do a ritual, and probably the world will end. So we're trying to stop that, but we need to find out where and when this is happening. And our only lead right now is a dead man who is walking toward the cult's target.
Actually, make the meddling move right now with presence.
My best stat. 8.
He says, a cult, you said?
Oh, yes.
They wouldn't happen to be called the Midwives of the Fragrant Void, would they?
Oh, that's them. You've heard.
Well, I'm just now putting 2 and 2 together. See, here's the thing, Dr. Thibault. This plan has been, I think it's been simmering for a long time.
Yes.
And, well, and here he sort of like gets a little quiet. And he says, I don't know what the connection is necessarily, but right before all of this started happening, we started to get lots of FOIA requests. That's Freedom of Information Act requests related to some special operations that took place overseas in Europe during World War II. And he says, I don't know how much more I should say.
Anything that can help.
But it had something to do with something some soldiers uncovered in a ruin in Greece.
Something perhaps pertinent to this event?
A statue.
Oh,
We traced it to the vicinity of Brindlewood Bay.
And you think they might be what they're using for the ritual?
I don't know. I think you and your friends need to get out of there right away.
Oh, I'd love to, but the military is very insistent that we remain, which is actually the favor I'm calling to ask. We have a lovely private Arnold's here who is escorting us, and we're hoping that you can give me a, authorized FBI task to follow this particular dead gentleman where we need to go to stop this.
Just what do you need me to say?
Something official sounding. He doesn't seem too keen on his job. Anything might work.
Put him on.
Oh, Private Arnold, call for you.
There's a conversation between Private Arnold and your contact. Meanwhile, while that's going on, what are the three of you doing?
I am closing the hatch on the Deep Reaver.
I certainly help with that. If it takes
What are you
more
doing
than-
with the zombie right now until it gets going?
I think it's just a matter of corralling it occasionally, right? So it gets stuck in a corner and we just kind of keep moving it slowly towards the door. It would probably not necessarily have a great sense of direction, it's just kind of mindlessly bumping into things like a blind Roomba sort of situation.
Is Uncle part sheepdog?
No.
Your clue, you got a clue just then. There's a statue in Greece that some soldiers uncovered and basically stole during World War II that has ended up here.
That seems like a lead.
Private Arnold gets off the phone and says, okay, ladies, I didn't realize your connections went so deep. I kind of knew something was going on, but the FBI?
We're just full of surprises here in Brindlewood Bay.
Of course, I have to go talk to my superior officers about this, or at least that's what I'm supposed to do.
Well, if I may, Private, this may be one of the things that's better to seek forgiveness and permission. We're kind of on a deadline.
At that point, maybe B and LMA are correct, like finally get it out the museum door.
Yeah. He's like, okay, well, what do you need me to do?
Make sure that neither we nor this ambulatory corpse gets destroyed.
He's like, okay, we'll do this. We'll do this like in Call of Duty. And he's going to drive the truck alongside the zombie, creating a visual barrier very, very slowly driving down the road. And as it turns and goes this way and that, he'll try to maneuver around it.
These Nintendo games have gotten much more complex than I remember.
Indeed, they have. The zombie walks to a pier and then just drops off the edge if you don't stop it into the water.
B does not stop it.
The red eye responding to the zombie?
No, because the red eye, all the dead are rising just because the red eye is there. The red eye seems to be indifferent to them.
Oh, I thought it was trying to spot Willoughby and seemed when it passed over the Deep Reaver.
Yeah. No, I don't think until the midwives complete their ritual, I don't think the red eye is necessarily knows to even look for Willoughby, right? or if it does, it's not. It just appears to be just darting. I mean, it's always like kind of looking around back and forth.
So this pier, would it be the one that Callie's boat would be docked at?
Can be, yeah.
As it becomes clear what direction the zombie's moving in, Callie's going to go and run ahead to the boat, jump in, grab a line of rope and a
Bright orange life preserver.
that's what I was looking for. Thank you. And she's going to quickly tie a rope around the life preserver and then try and loop it around the zombie
So they can float.
so that we can see which way it's going, even underwater.
Very good. Oh, I see.
Perhaps if we hold it between the two of us, the zombie will just go into the life preserver.
I'll let you do all that. I don't need to roll because it's slow enough and it's not hostile. It is generally heading in a northerly direction.
I think it's time for another boat trip, ladies. Perhaps this island they're talking about is out here.
It could be time for theorize.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think?
It would only be a flat roll if we got everything we have.
Well, I've got 2 masks left. If we need to bump it up. Oh no, LMA only. Oh no, you have a lot.
I do have 2 masks as well. So if we did need to burn through them all to get the mystery correct, I'm totally fine with that.
So we know
You
that.
said masks. I'm assuming we mean crowns. Just
Sorry,
confirming.
crowns. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, damn.
So the zombie is after Willoughby, so that must be April, May. No, April.
April is the granddaughter. Yeah.
April.
Because she's the only one alive.
Because she looks the most like Hale Willoughby and June Willoughby.
Right, and June is dead. So
June killed herself. Yes.
So it must. April must be on the island. So
And presumably the island is where the ritual will take place.
So the where is that.
Mm-hmm.
The when, if they already have her on the island, and we know from Etienne's situation that they're close, that's the broad when.
He didn't need a change of clothes. So you could even tie that one in to say that is today or now or impending, because he's still left all of those 2 changes of clothes in his closet to knock that clue out of there.
Right.
Yeah.
Look to the sky and find a pale yellow star. What time of day is it?
It's starting to get to be hard to tell because the way that the storm affects everything just feels like a sort of gray twilight.
What if that's like maybe at the island there's the Yellow Star Brewery or something?
Oh, that's pretty good. I like that. Yeah, like an old brewery. Yeah, that's pretty good. It's just like Otho to say some cryptic shit like that too, right? Like that is not a direct answer, right? That's good. That's pretty cool.
Maybe a brewery, but they also, it's like they farm their own wheat, and so the silo has a big yellow star on it, and you look up and there it is.
Okay, yeah, that's
Or
pretty
it's
nice.
like yeah, something star, but they make IPAs.
Yellow Star cranberry shrubs. Yeah.
I think you've got the where pretty well sorted out, I think.
We need to resolve all 3 in the.
Well, you just need to have like if the roll goes poorly and you have to like stop the ritual, you need to know how. You need to know what the fundamental problem or what to do, right? So you better come up with something.
Can we add detail to a clue, like in that old photo that showed the women that looked like us?
Uh-huh.
Is there something in the background of that old photo, or is that?
You can add that detail, yeah. What do you think?
Actually, that's actually how we know what the ritual looks like, is the photo of us. back in that time period, because we know that the granddaughter is close enough. And so this whole like mirror images, we need duplicates, we need people who look like other people's ancestors is
Oh,
part of
so the
the
four of you
ritual
are meant to
itself.
always show up there.
Yeah,
Yes.
and we know where to
Oh.
stand based on the photo.
Oh, intriguing. That's intriguing. So that's really interesting. But do the midwives not know that? Because how come they're not trying to get you over to the island?
The midwives never go to that museum, and you know that.
So the midwives just don't understand their ritual. Don't
They
you
have
then make it?
forgotten the history of this town, let me tell you.
Or the last time it was attempted, it was disrupted
By
by
these four women. Yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah, I like
Mhm.
that. That's really good.
The
That's I
cycle
think,
is broken.
I think that's the right answer. Yeah. So you particularly are like destined to like stop it, right? If it has to be stopped, I think that's pretty good. Etienne, the Etienne clue is just that it's like happening imminently, right? What about the statue? Here you get to add in, you get to define the statue a little bit as you wish, give it some context, decide what it means.
I kind of want it to be a crossover to Hargrave House and Mr. Gennadios's immortality statue,
You
but
should do it. Yeah, I don't care.
This game has already been hard enough for me as a player because we've said Willoughby how many times in this.
this is
Makes you wonder
actually
if
the
that's a
first time
connection, doesn't it?
when I make the Willoughby comic book, I'll make sure to put in hints towards this.
Gennadios connection, a Willoughby connection.
what if the statue is what if Mrs. Carfax and Jane Leaf are undeniable and it's their statue?
Oh,
Mm.
it's a statue of twin like goddesses or something.
Mm.
Oh, that's
So
pretty
if we
interesting.
end the statue, we end them.
Oh, that's pretty interesting. Yeah. And if the statue ended up over here, it makes sense why they're here, right? Because they're local, right? And maybe even Jane Leaf went to the UK because maybe it was British soldiers that plundered the statue. And so that's why she was even there to begin with, right? That's intriguing.
Plus,
how
there's
interesting.
the London connection with Hargrave House, and that just kind of folds back in on itself very
Yeah,
nicely.
that's super intriguing. So it sounds like you need to get over to the island now. The location, the island being is the key thing here. That's clearly where the ritual's about to take place. It's probably happening imminently based off these clues, and that there's something in particular going on with the Carfax sisters. That the statue. What might you all discover? Like, what might Callie know because of her research? What might Callie know about the statue? I think that if you want to just fill in that detail, like what is it about the statue? Who are they?
That may be part of her work with the Hargrave House Foundation. She may have a working knowledge of people tied to masterworks.
Mm-hmm. That's pretty good. I like it. Okay, well, it's very good. It's all very like gauntlet verse cosmology. I'm here for it. Sounds like you just got to get to the island and specifically you three, well, and theoretically Violet, have to put a stop to this. So maybe 3 out of 4 won't be too bad. Go ahead and let's have a flat
Or we
roll.
mess it up this time and just have to go through all of this again, right?
Yeah.
A quick reminder, rule-wise, you cannot use cozy place items on Theorize.
You may not.
Okay.
I'll do it.
Go ahead.
My dice have been okay. Plus nothing. Is an 8.
8. So you're correct, but basically it's going to be a fight when you get there. And so you are in your boat. You see the island. You see the thing that really stands out is you see that silo with the yellow star painted atop the roof. And you know that's where you're supposed to be. The island is not huge, but it's big enough to where you can park the boat on one side of it and still kind of get up and have a little bit of like, be a little bit inconspicuous.
Callie will kind of, as they're going along, she'll be sitting in the very center of the boat with her hands firmly on both sides, and she'll say, "Now this is all going to sound very crazy, ladies, but when I worked in London with the Hargrave House Foundation, part of my area of study was myths involving immortals, and these immortals have a tether, and I think that that's what the statue is. If we destroy the statue, perhaps whoever's leading this will die." Perhaps this also isn't the craziest thing we've talked about today.
Hey, so
No.
you might
With
remember
Jane.
my deceased husband and how a statue killed him. Statues kill people. I get it.
Yes, very, very astute.
How will we know which statue? What if there's more? Does it look like anything in particular, or?
Well, it'll look like someone we know, probably a midwife, maybe Jane Leaf or Mrs. Carfax. So it'll probably look old. And maybe a little worse for wear or disturbing.
Do you think that they are keeping April somewhere in particular? Do we know anything else with the maps? Maybe there are locations on the island or like a side of the island that we're supposed to. I worry that if we try to sneak up on them, we'll just end up walking right up to them.
Well, if we follow our friend, he should lead the way. Did we tail the bobbing life preserver, or is it behind us?
I think you left it behind you once you saw the star.
Well, we can wait for him to catch up. Or do you have those maps, LMA?
Yeah, I still got the one from Etienne right here.
Is there anything other than the brewery?
On the map?
You can say there is. Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, Etienne's got pretty bad handwriting when you get right down to it. But
Well,
his
then,
hands are numb from working with cold fish all day. But it looks like right here it says the Garden of Statuary or statutory. I don't know. I'm not sure what this says.
Well, what a clever place to hide a statue amongst others.
that
Yes,
does seem
indeed.
like a good place to start. Well,
Yeah.
ladies, I guess we'll go smash some stuff.
Pick up that what's the special shovel called?
Tactical shovel.
You do find it's a little statuary garden. The brewery had a little garden, like a little, just sort of like a little, like kind of peaceful rest area for workers and families. And there are lots of overgrown statues there. And you do see the two that you think you're probably looking for. Rather than looking decrepit and old and worse for wear, these two statues depict women who are lithesome and beautiful, and they are in a certain embrace. As if they are trying to reach out to someone, to grab someone, to hold someone. And Jane Leaf and Mrs. Carfax approach. They are wearing their robes, but they do not have the masks on, but they do have the dark, heavy blue robes. And you see a few other people, they who do have the stone masks on, kind of coming around, sort of cordoning the area. And Jane says, We have been on the run from the Eye of Charon for many, many years. We have managed to escape its gaze for a very long time. We are not going to return to the underworld unless we return on our own terms. And we intend to return with an army at our back. This situation is none of your concern. It would be best if you all get back on your boat. Enjoy what's left of your lives and let us get on with our work.
But you see, the thing is, Jane, I have no interest in being part of your army.
And she smiles and says, your desires and interests are of no use to us, dear. We simply are not interested. And then they bring forth April. And April, who appears to be in some sort of drug-induced stupor, walks up to the two statues that are beckoning. And they push her down to her knees and into the statues so that it's as if the two women are embracing her, reaching out to her. And then you hear a loud sound like a crack of thunder up above. The yawning portal in the sky, in the dark black ocean hanging above you, begins to widen. And you see the Eye of Charon descending down as it focuses on the statue and April Willoughby. 3 escapees, enough to draw its attention. It is trailed by hundreds of gore-soaked tendrils as it descends. And then you see Violet, caked in mud, her eyes wide and wild. And she has the crown, the blood-soaked willow crown, and she presses it into your hands, Dr. Thibault, and she says, you're going to need this.
Oh, Violet. Ew.
And let's take 5. We'll come back and have our final confrontation. Upon seeing the blood-red crown, Mrs. Carfax screeches, the crown of the king, the crown of Hades. And she directs the other cult members to get it. And so there are 3 of you. And so I think that is 3 problems to solve. One of you must contend with the cultists. One of you must contend with the Carfax sisters. And one of you must use the crown to actually drive the Eye of Charon away. Who would like to do what?
I have half an idea, but I don't know what it's a solution to. I was given half a pomegranate at the beginning of this nightmare, in which my friend came back from the dead and said, "Here, join me." And so I have this spooky half of a pomegranate that I really feel like I could feed to somebody else and cause them harm. But the Carfax sisters, I think we'd have to destroy their statue first before introducing the pomegranate.
Unless the
I don't-
pomegranate, so this, I mean, so this cult like notionally worships Persephone, and of course the pomegranate is connected to the Persephone myth, and so maybe you can trick them with the pomegranate in some way. I don't know, that might be an idea.
Okay.
If you want to deal with the cultists, because they might be stupid enough to fall for whatever your scheme might be.
I'll keep thinking then.
LMA,
feel
do you
like-
want to deal with statues or the sister?
Well, there's a
sisters?
bit of the like, family history with statues and sculpture. However, I'm obsessed with the void and stars below as well, and I'm concerned about Callie being marked by Mrs. Carfax. I don't know that Callie can take Mrs. Carfax toe to toe.
I do have a tactical shovel. But I feel like having LMA be the one to deal with the statues fits really, really nicely.
So then LMA can deal
I
with
can see where this is going already. I'll be joining my husband in death.
Okay, so it sounds like B is going to deal with the cult. LMA is going to deal with the sisters. And Dr. Thibault, that leaves you in the Eye of Charon with the crown given to you by Violet, which is Violet's role to play here. So.
Is that a condition or an item?
It's a.
Or just narrative?
It's a personal quarters item, but I'm not going to let you add to your personal quarters. It's just a thing you have right now to deal with. It's the MacGuffin that you need to deal with the Eye of Charon. So B, what do you do to keep the cultists at bay?
Okay, so let's try this on for size. What if B pretends to eat of the pomegranate, and then through some really hysterical, dramatic overacting, convinces the cultists that this is the fruit of their goddess, and through this they will be preserved, and I have become one of them, and eat of this fruit and distract them long enough to not
for everything else to happen. Yeah.
Yes, occupy
Right.
them.
Yeah. I think that's the idea here. This is going to be composure. What are you afraid is going to happen if you fail?
That by eating the fruit, it will attract both my undead friend and any others in the vicinity to magnify the problem.
I think it's worse than that. I think you might actually be pulled down into the underworld. But let's have a composure roll, see how it goes.
A 9 plus 3 is a 12.
Very good, very good. All right, so give us the scene. What does it look like? You're going to hold the cultists at bay.
B just smears some of the pomegranate juice on her face, and through kind of a glassy-eyed wonderment says, "Persephone is of me, and she is of you. Eat." And as they're passing around the pomegranate, B maybe just keeps walking towards the sisters and the statue as compelled by their goddess to do so.
I love it. LMA, the sisters are like losing their minds because why, what the hell are you all doing? She's clearly not Persephone and all this other stuff, right? And Jane Leaf takes out a cake cutting knife and holds it up to April's throat. April, of course, is on her knees in the trio of statues. And she says, "You can't stop the Eye of Charon, but you can save this girl's life." What do, LMA?
I take out a fettling knife, useful on clay, and a little chisel. And I meander over to that statue, and as I'm heading to this statue, I'm thinking of the statue in the Metropolitan Museum of Laocoon and his sons being attacked by the sea serpents, and thinking about the deep river and the long history of this town. And you could try to like chip away really slowly at that statue, or you could just tip it from the base and try to have gravity do its work. And so I'm gonna jam my tool in and crank on that thing and try and just topple the statue over and let it break of its own accord.
I love it. That's really good. It's going to be vitality. What are you afraid is going to happen if you fail?
The statue just goes bounce and it's fully intact, and I look really dumb. And April gets killed.
It's worse than that. April gets killed. Yeah. Let's have a vitality roll.
Alrighty. I do have Potter's tools. Does that give me advantage on this little die roll?
It does indeed. But I think all of your conditions are going to put you at disadvantage. So it's just
Okay.
a flat roll.
7.
7. It's going to work. You might as well mark a crown because I was going to give you a condition anyway. So just make it a 10.
Got a quick question. Of the crowns I have to choose, the void is sitting there. Is this the poetic moment where the statue topples on me?
It's up to you. You get to choose. So,
all right. Gonna think on that for half a second.
Let us know what you decide.
I think it's kind of amazing, given that, you know, way back
we know
when
about your
Hector had a
history.
statue fall on him. I'm
Yeah.
sorry?
What we know about your history. Yeah, definitely.
I think I'm going for it.
Okay.
Crown of the void.
Marking the crown of the void. The void on the crown of the void. You will retire your character in a way that shows how they are lost to the void.
By the way, Ben, on the character keeper, I just checked that. Really nice job on the coding. That is a cool visual effect.
Yeah.
If y'all aren't looking, look at column P, row
it's pretty,
56. That's nice.
I didn't know it would do that. That's pretty cool. It's awesome. Describe how you destroy the Carfax sisters.
Oh, all right. So, you know, I'm an old lady. I'm trying to leverage the best I can on this thing, kind of a heave ho, and then there's this voice from behind me, and it's Etienne coming to give me just a little extra push, and he helped give me that push, but then his foot slips and the statue comes back at both of us and collapses us both into the earth, mush, puddly jelly goo, and yet it bursts asunder and marble fragments go rolling off into the water down on the shore.
And the Carfax sisters, they actually, because of the nature of what bound them here, they actually reverse age and they become incredibly young. But they begin to wail because this means they will have to return to the underworld. And they do not want to. And I think a yawning void just opens up beneath them and drags them. Something drags them down as they scream into the void, and then it closes up. But the Eye of Charon is loose and coming in your direction. It is already here in the world. Callie, you must use the Crown of Hades to beat it back. What do you do?
She will give Anku a bit of a pat and say, go to B, and then put the crown on and kind of take a moment and puff herself up a bit and stand to face the eye.
And I think we see just this very dramatic thing of like the silhouette of Dr. Thibault wearing the crown, silhouetted by the red light of the eye, which is like a giant moon hanging in front of her, and the tendrils radiating all around. What do you do?
She will look at it and clear her throat and say, I was the queen of the down below. You will obey, and you will leave this place. Please.
Like I said, please still. That's a request. This is going to be presence. And you can roll it with regular dice.
A 6.
Would you like to bump that up?
I think so.
Go ahead and mark your crown. It works. The eye recedes, floats back up to the ocean above, and recedes into the dark waters, which wash over it. And the red glow beneath the water gets fainter and fainter as it sinks deeper and deeper in. And then the waters part. And it is the call of seagulls, a ray of sun, a sunny early spring day in Brindlewood Bay. The midwives of the fragrant void are defeated. If you have any crowns to narrate, now is the time.
I do.
Go for it.
I checked my last crown of the queen, which is the flashback of your fondest memory with one of your children. And B only ever had the one daughter, and she was very young, and it was her favorite thing to do is to play in the sandbox. All she wanted to do was dig and build, and sitting there with a cup of tea in the backyard watching my daughter play, I watched her for the very first time build a castle, and as it fell and crumbled, she so perfectly used her very first swear word and said, "Shit," and then began to build that castle again.
Fabulous, thank you. That feels like a very appropriate scene for some reason here at the end. Any other crowns?
Mine were just void.
So I want to add a little detail to my crown of the void.
Sure.
Because Etienne, head bandaged, showed up in that final moment to assist LMA, even though it led to both of their demises. But what we didn't see was how Etienne got to the island. Head injured, laying on the ice, he climbs out of that pack, shoves the zombie
Oh, we lose Brian right at the end.
And Sarah.
And Sarah. Okay, well, we'll give them a moment to come back. They must have had an internet issue. I'll just pause it till they get back. All right. Okay, so we're back, viewers. Brian and Sarah have lost power, and so they are both now sharing a cell phone connection. But we're very, very close to the end, so I think we'll be okay. Hello. So, Brian, please continue telling us how Etienne got to the island.
Okay, did we get through the part where Etienne was rowing?
That's right where we stopped.
Rowing the dinghy, all right. And in rowing, he passes by this zombie from the deep river who's treading water in its little orange life buoy, life preserver, right? Yeah, it's kind of making its own way towards the island. Etienne, as you all know, arrives, assists LMA in that final moment where her pottery tools break, and he helps her shove over the statue. They both die, but Etienne's hand has a little oomph left and kind of almost crawls towards the shore as that zombie reaches the shore, and they clasp hands together.
I love it. That's great. So at this point, I'm not going to bother with end of session questions, except that you all would get experience point for solving the mystery at the very least, but we're at the end of the campaign, so it's fine. I do think what I want to do though is have a little bit of a little epilogue for each of the characters. So in your case, LMA, you can just show like how the town has changed or people in your life are affected by you being gone. But otherwise, yeah, just think about your epilogue for your character. Just any point in the future. Try not to implicate any other character, and yeah, give your character a send off. Whoever wants to go, think about it. Then whoever wants to go first, go for it.
I can rock and roll. I got it. I mentioned that key to Brindlewood Bay earlier. That you might be right. Fraser may have given me that in character creation. You know, some time has passed, months, and there's a young girl who's taken her kayak out to the island, and just kind of poking around with sticks, like, you know, finding the overgrown, broken up statuary. She finds that key to Brindlewood Bay. She picks it up and tucks it into her life vest.
Very nice. Thank you. I love it. Who wants to go next?
I can go.
Right,
I
go ahead.
think we see it's better weather, warmer season than when we were last saw Callie. And Callie is at the museum, and she is now the curator. And we see Anku as a tour guide and leading people along the various exhibits. And we see in a glass cube at the back a picture of the Murder Mavens book club and also the Bloody Crown. And on Callie's desk is a letter from the Hargrave House Foundation in London.
I love it. B, do you want to do your epilogue?
B is in her house and with her baby nearby getting scritches. She's still answering all of her charity questions and thank you notes and doing all of that, but you also see towards the back bookshelves the number of other organizations that she has raised money for, including some societies that may be a little bit disreputable or supernatural or any number of other odd places that she can now fundraise for these suspicious and or mysterious causes.
Fabulous. I love it. Okay, that's the end of the campaign. Congratulations for defeating the midwives of the Fragrant Void. Does everybody want to do just a little debrief? We can do stars and wishes for the whole campaign, or we can just chat if we want. I don't know how that's going to work for you and Brian, Sarah, but you all can figure it out. But I'll just start by saying, what is that?
I'm just going to join via my phone, and I think that'll work out.
Oh, okay, sure. Yeah, we'll give you a minute. Yeah, go ahead. All right. wait for Sarah to join. Okay, sorry, viewers. We started debriefing without me hitting recording, so we missed some of my thoughts and some of Sarah's thoughts, but we're picking up with Ben's thoughts. Go ahead, Ben. But anyway, the TLDR is that we loved it. We love the campaign. Go ahead, Ben.
Yeah, I really liked our characters. I thought the dynamics between them, and also just like they were so distinct. And Beatrice's, you carried Beatrice's attitude really well throughout the whole thing. It came through in all of her actions. LMA was so charming and sweet, and I love that even though Etienne was Etienne, she still pulled out the nursing bag and helped him. I'm sad Violet isn't here too. She was our kind of our tough, and she was fun. And all the mysteries, the progression felt really good. The void mystery was a lot of fun. I liked the ways that we kept nodding to the between, and I hope, I guess a wish, let's see what link between Willoughby and the Willoughbys there may be. I figure there's lots of room in Willoughby's sordid past.
Yeah. I want to comment really quickly on what you said about the way Sarah played B throughout the whole campaign, because I actually thought it was a very, very interesting and believable progression, because it kind of went from this like sort of like waspy, like, you know, sort of like society person, you know, who's clearly like invested in everything being normal, right, and dependable and reliable, and to watch that transition of B's like being caught up as the void stuff started happening, just seeing that transition and how B reacted to it felt really good. I liked it all the way through to the end. It felt very like honest, like a very honest portrayal of the character, despite the fact that the game like is like half horror, half like campy. Like I felt like B's portrayal was very, very believable. So I just wanted to echo that as well.
I just have time. Oh, sorry, Ben, go ahead.
I was just to say, I think that about sums up I enjoyed the whole thing. It was great, and thank you.
I just noticed for the first time, and I don't know, Sarah, if this was deliberate, but in the between you played Willoughby, this is just B. Is Willow next?
I get to play if Callie gets to be a Gennadios, man, like I don't know. It wasn't entirely intentional. And the void mystery for me as a player felt like higher stakes or even spookier, because I just picked the name on the drop-down list when I made Willoughby as a character. And it just turns out that Jason and I both really like that name. And so he had folded it into the between unbeknownst to me. And so having Hail Willoughby come up over and over and over and over again felt really spooky. Like,
well, it was just an interesting circumstance, because June Willoughby is an established character in the Brindlewood Bay, right? Like they're an established, like major side character as far as that goes. And so just the nature of the game, like trying to figure out how June fits in, kind of forced me to create this like other lore involving the Deep Reaver and Hail Willoughby, which by the way, I think I'm going to put in the final book. I think that'd be a lot of fun to have the Hail Willoughby story in the final book. And because part of what we're going to do in the final book is like deepen the lore of the Deep Reaver and the town, you know? So yeah, that was really enjoyable. I want to throw out a star for Sarah and Brian didn't get to play this one, but the Sweep Sweep mystery we did, Hex Files, was really fun, and just a great, like, it has no connection to the main story, so you can kind of just watch it in isolation, and I recommend it because it was really, really enjoyable. And it actually kind of sold me on the idea of wanting to do more with Sweep Sweep mysteries, you know, more than what we were currently doing at the time as far as publishing goes. And so yeah, I really loved that. That was great fun. I wanted to make sure to get that in there, because it's not part of the main campaign, and yet it was still part of the two of the characters' stories, at least. So yeah.
this has been a blast. I was really curious at the start of the game how we were going to transition from cute little ladies reading murder books to the horrific space and mind bending stuff, and it went really smoothly. So I'm glad to see that, and also really glad to see the Kickstarter campaign is just flying.
Yeah, I'm glad about that too. It's very it's nice when your hustle pays off, you know. I'm really happy that to your point, Brian, I'm really happy that I mean, I know how it works because I wrote the game and I know how it works, but like I was happy that even in the Void Mystery with a fucking giant god thing hanging in the sky and all this other horrible shit going on, that the characters are still fundamentally like kind of, you know, like little old ladies and like and you know, doing their thing, and they're still like these kind of like very sympathetic, like, you know, almost like comedic characters in some sense. I mean, the last sequence was absurd, right? Like getting the zombie to following the zombie over to the island, right? Like, but it just felt like, and I think that's like when this game is at its best, that's what it's doing. It's navigating because the source material is fundamentally like tonally a little silly, right? Like, I don't know if you've ever watched. I just started rewatching Murder She Wrote just because why not? And I was surprised by how often the suspects just like walk up to Jessica Fletcher and say their motive. You know, they just walk up and they're like, well, of course I hated my father. You know, like they just walk up and say it. And there's something like so silly about it. But that made me, it confirmed that like the game I wrote, that the game is working the way I intended for it to go. Because because it intends to like have a certain degree of like, there's a certain degree of silliness to it, right? Like, you know, that you have to sort of like lean into and want to enjoy, right? And but then you kind of like throw it in with this like sort of these Lovecraftian and eldritch horror tropes, which in their own way it can be quite campy, right? Like it's a different kind of camp, but they have their own like kind of, you know, like camp quality, and it all comes together kind of nicely. And I felt like we got that experience in this campaign, so I was really happy about that, for sure.
We've got a few more stars that are from just this specific episode. Sarah with B's sort of cheery "yes sir" to Private Arnold was just so perfectly on character. And Titanic 2, I don't know where it's going to come up again in my life, but somewhere Titanic 2 is going to show up. I'm really glad we got Etienne back on ice to wrap back around to Arnold Krauss in the first scenario. Jason holding baby at gunpoint was amazing. Just like, all right, nobody move or the cat gets it. What else? There's something else here. Ben calling in the black dog as the Gordon Shumway move. Like, I grew up watching Alf, and I had a moment of like, oh my God, Alf is like a hell being from another dimension. That changed that whole perspective for me.
I liked that scene because it echoed what had happened in the other scene, right? Like with Anku and Etienne, and so then we have another dog and Sheriff Dalrymple, which I assume you did on purpose, Ben. I don't know, but like it felt cool.
Another thing, Ben, I mentioned it briefly, but the coding you did on that character keeper, which is just in Google Sheets, there was a lot of cool stuff that happened when you click that final void link. So nicely done.
Thank you.
Yeah, I didn't know that. That was a total surprise for me. So yeah,
I like leaving little Easter eggs.
Little Easter egg, yeah. It's a big one right at the end of the game, right? Or right at the end of the character. It's like, yeah. Fabulous. Yeah, go ahead, Sarah.
I have another mechanical star because much like the Between uses masks, this again uses crowns, but something that I didn't really catch on to until later into my character development was that I really started to echo the crowns as I would echoes in the night. So I really was telling my last crown as a bookend for what had just happened. And so that was a really fun discovery for me as a player. And I think I'm going to have fun once I play this with others.
Yeah, good. I'm glad it worked out that way. Yeah, that's you know, that's how it's meant to go. I mean, the idea is that you know, the prompts on the Crown of the Queen, you know, and the Crown of the Void, but in a different way, they're meant to be like, you know, role-playing inspiration, right? Like they're meant to be a foundation or a touchstone to like understand your character and help us understand your character, you know. The Queen stuff is all about like their past or them as women, or, you know, things that are just kind of grounded. And the Void stuff, you know, there's a version of this game where you mark all your Crowns of the Void like early, and your character is just incredibly weird, you know, and dark, right? And so if that's the way you want to play it, you can play it that way, you know. But I like that. That's kind of how it goes. And we did a lot of them too. I mean, at the end, 2 of you had almost nothing left, and Ella May was in decent shape, but actually is the one that chose the Void. So there you go. But yeah,
Accidental foreshadowing back in character creation.
Indeed. No, it was good. No, the statue thing was perfect, right? It was absolutely perfect. It was like, yes, it's a great moment, you know. Yeah. So fantastic. Anything else before we go? Okay. Well, I had a wonderful time. I don't know what we're going to play next week, but I'll touch base with you and we'll figure it out. Actually, you know what would be really, really nice? I don't think we're going to have it. We won't have a character keeper by then, of course, but I would love to do the new Between game with you all at some point. That's the Ghosts of El Paso, the new one. And so that would be a lot of fun.
I am super.
Yeah, I don't know what the playbook's not even ready yet, which is why I haven't given them to Ben yet to make a keeper out of them. But like, so probably we can't start that next week, but I'll check in with David, and if we're close, maybe it's something we can do. We could do something as a holdover for the next couple of weeks and then do that, but I don't know, we'll see. But thank you all so much. It was a fantastic campaign. I'm going to go ahead and hit stop.